Well, it was enjoyable. It is enjoyable. It is going to be enjoyable. In past, present, future, I can say that the journey is definitely adventurous, and I enjoyed that entire 40 years of journey. You may call it 40 years. Actually, I passed out in 80. When would you call the journey starts? When you take admission into architecture? So that was in 75.
Right, from
75 to 22, it's 47 years of journey.
Hello sir.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining this podcast.
My
आज का
pleasure.
पॉडकास्ट बड़ा ही इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है.
My pleasure.
आई एम शुभंकर योर होस्ट एंड आज का पॉडकास्ट देखते हैं कहाँ जाता है. सो आप 40 साल से आर्किटेक्चरल प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हो.
हाँ जी.
सो 40 इयर्स की तरफ देखते हुए आपको क्या लगता है आज? हाउ वाज योर जर्नी?
Well, it was enjoyable. It is enjoyable. It is going to be enjoyable. In past, present, future, I can say that the journey is definitely adventurous.
Yes.
And I enjoyed that entire 40 years of journey. You may call it 40 years. Actually, I passed out in 80.
Right.
When would you call the journey starts? When you take admission into architecture?
Correct.
So that was in 75.
Right, from 70.
75 to 22, it's 47 years of journey. The day I chose to be an architect, the journey started from that day.
Correct.
And from that day to this day, and I have another, I foresee that it would be another at least 30 years.
Yes sir, definitely sir.
Thank you.
For every architecture student, उनकी कॉलेज लाइफ बड़ी ही इंटरेस्टिंग होती है एंड क्रूशियल होती है.
Yes.
सो आपके कॉलेज डेज कैसे थे एंड आपका फ्रॉम स्टूडेंट टू प्रोफेशन ट्रांजिशन कैसा था सर?
Well, student life is something which every professional has to go through.
डेफिनेटली. यस सर.
You all must have gone through that.
करेक्ट.
So, student life is some period which everybody, every architect, every student should make the most of that time. And my time was totally what you call engrossed into it, totally absorbed into it, and I really enjoyed every year, every what you call semester. We didn't have semester, we had every year, we had yearly pattern that time.
Okay.
So every year I was the topper.
Oh wow.
So that shows that I was definitely into the profession right from the day I joined.
Correct.
To the day I passed out as a student, after being a student into an architect. So the student life, yes, it makes you what you call think wild. It makes you think, beyond what you call out of the box or beyond boundaries.
Correct.
But in practice, the transition to practice, when you come into practice, then you realize there are boundaries into it, there are limits into it, there are bylaws, limitations into it, and that was like a full paradigm shift from running wild to being a designer or an architect, confined to the client's brief, confined to the budget of the client, confined to the space.
Right.
So it was what you call a total shift. But then yes, this is for everyone, and this shift also I absorbed, and into practice also I am making, and I am totally engrossed as I was in my student life. So also I am into my practical.
Yes. Sir, do you remember your first project? How did you get your first client?
Yes, first client. Yes. Of course, see, in architecture, first client always comes from your friends,
Yeah.
relatives,
Correct.
or your family friends.
Correct.
So was with me also. I left office, and it was abrupt decision. It was an abrupt decision because I didn't plan to start my practice on a particular date or after a particular period of time. It was a spontaneous moment, and I took a decision. Fine, I start my practice from tomorrow. Everybody was surprised at my place. How could you take that decision without asking us, without informing us, without orienting yourself also about it? But then it was a spontaneous decision. From tomorrow, I am going to start my own practice with no project in hand. Now, after having decided this, I'll tell you an interesting story into it.
Definitely.
It was like I didn't have a phone.
Right.
That time, this was way back in 1982.
Correct.
We didn't have a phone, means the landline phone.
Right.
I used the landline of a friend, and I happened to be there in that place. And from that friend's landline phone, I called up to my boss, from tomorrow I'm not coming.
Oh.
They listened to it, they heard it, and they were kind enough, they were humble enough, you design our house. And that was the way that I got a project, and that was the way I, say that it was a good omen, a good moment, that the day I decided, the place I decided, it gave me the work.
It's really interesting.
So it's like if you are totally, you see, dedicated, sincere, I think work starts falling in line.
Definitely.
So this was my experience by which I got my first project, and from thereafter, no looking back.
Wow,
And again, I would say, engrossed totally into profession, into thick of profession.
Definitely.
So that's how it's going on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, as we all know, कि आपकी आर्किटेक्चरल ज्योमेट्री में एक्सपर्टीज है. तो ये आर्किटेक्चरल ज्योमेट्री कब से आया, एंड हाउ डू यू डिफाइन द आर्किटेक्चरल ज्योमेट्री फॉर यू?
Oh, कब से आया? This was your first question.
Yes.
Geometry, yes, you identified rightly, is into my every talk or every project, I would also say, and it's visible everywhere. You see any project, any drawings, any my talk, listen to anything, you will definitely find geometry involved into it. Where did it come from? That's what your question is.
Yes, sir.
कहाँ वो जिसको बोलते हैं ना कीड़ा काटा?
Yes, sir. क्योंकि for every student there is a inspiration.
Yes.
But I think for you that inspiration is the geometry.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is right. That inspiration was like a eureka moment, I would say.
Okay.
So I didn't run like Archimedes, but then it was during a teaching schedule.
Okay.
I went into teaching almost a decade ago.
Okay.
And therein, when I was teaching, I learned that students need to understand geometry before they design anything.
Correct.
It was the teaching profession, it was my teaching schedule that made me think, sit back and think why this geometry is being neglected, which is definitely the backbone of any design.
Right.
May it be structural design, may it be architectural design, may it be product design, may it any design. The geometry is the underlying fundamental base of that design. During that teaching, I realized that it's not so simple. It's not just plain geometry, but it's a very deep, vast, and diverse geometry, which needs to be understood. First of all, by the one who wants to propagate or profoundly, it has to be read and communicated. So realizing that it's not so easy, realizing that it's important, I started into digging deep into this aspect of geometry. And from there, after almost now it's a decade, and I'm happy to tell you that my thesis topic also is geometry.
Oh wow.
So
really interesting.
PhD thesis would be definitely dealing, and that's how I'm planning to give back to my profession.
Correct.
See, yes. Profession is what gave you everything in your life.
Correct.
It gave you happiness, it gave you so much of fame, it gave you so much of status.
Right.
And what are you owe them, and that's how I think through PhD maybe doing research on geometry and this applied geometry to architecture, maybe I would be doing justice to my profession, giving back to my profession.
Correct. Definitely.
So
sir.
That's how it is.
सर ज्योमेट्री पे एक अगला क्वेश्चन है, ज्योमेट्री में व्हाट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट, इमेजिनेशन, लॉजिक or the maths?
Let me clarify what geometry is. You were asking what is geometry, how do you define geometry? See, language of architects is geometry or drawing. I would say
Definitely.
architects speak through drawings. It's not through movement of hands or going at site and telling them, reminding them ki you did this way, that way, there, and that project, do the same way. That's not the language of architects. Our architects' drawing language is drawings. And in drawings, you have to have graphics. Now, graphics is what? Graphics is numbers. You draw a straight line, you draw a curved line, you draw a freehand line. It's what? It's number. It's number in 2D, it's number in space, it's number in space and time, it's number in what you call both space and time.
Right.
So there are numbers involved into it. As architects, you all know, I would say majority of them are afraid of numbers.
Correct. Yes.
So you think ki geometry means numbers, numbers means mathematics, mathematics means no. There the whole problem lies, and then the architect tries to go away from geometry. And this going away, I want to stop, or I want to cut and tell them ki it's so simple, and I want to put them in such a simple manner that they start enjoying learning geometry, and then they start applying it.
Correct.
So geometry is numbers. Okay. And as I said, there were 4 categories. Numbers in 2D.
Okay.
When you draw a pattern, say maybe a tile pattern, that is 2D geometry.
Right.
So numbers in 2D, a plane, it's 2D geometry. Numbers in space.
Right.
Okay. Then you have one here, one here, one here. So numbers in space. Okay. That is 3D geometry.
3D geometry. Correct.
Okay. Then this space, then you encapsulate a space. Then there comes the third stage, comes as numbers in time. Okay, that's music. So which time and which tone and which string is to be played, that's time element. So that's also numbers or mathematics involved in music, and that's called time. You got plane, you got space, you got time. Now you have to mix space and time. And that is what is actually needed by an architect. Space and time. Numbers in space, numbers in time. So if an architect is able to understand using lines, he is using lines, but unknowingly he is using numbers.
Correct.
Unknowingly.
Correct. Definitely.
He doesn't have to know straight line y is equal to mx plus c. He doesn't have to know this.
Correct.
He doesn't have to fill these variables. Curved line, parabola or thing, it has an equation. It has a number in it. He did not know the mathematical formula or it, but the underlying geometry is involving numbers. Numbers in, I told you, space and time. Space may, as it is, that's what we basically are involved into, creating space.
Correct.
Why I am stressing on space and time is, if an architect is successful in using his geometry, his design, his form in space and time, he is definitely a successful architect.
Yes.
And therefore I always keep on saying how the geometry helps you in creating space, in creating a time element into it, and a mix of it gives you an architectural timeless masterpiece or timeless enjoyable space for the user or it. And I am happy to tell you here that my final year architecture thesis was space, time and architecture.
Oh, wow.
You all would be surprised. Space, time and architecture. I didn't know at my age of 21 that this would become underlying. I didn't foresee. It was just by, by intuition.
Right.
Because Siegfried Gideon, he had written a book called Space, Time and Architecture.
Right.
That was the published book, and it was very difficult to understand what is this space and time. I also didn't understand. I took that topic and I tried to find out what is this space and time. But then now I realize what is that space and time.
Correct.
You recall Gathe saying architecture is frozen music.
Correct.
What is this music coming in? Music is nothing but numbers in time.
Numbers in time.
So that's how, see, geometry takes you into the what you call a methodical way. As you were asking, does it help or does it what was your question? Like,
is it imagination, logic?
Is the imagination or logic?
Yeah.
See, it is imagination.
Correct.
But as I told you, the underlying principle is logic. The numbers is logic.
Correct.
So you are imagining, but if you have a sound logic understanding of the geometry, it would help you imagine better.
Correct.
So geometry is definitely imagination with logic.
Correct.
So architects must realize that geometry would take you a long way in realizing your imagination and your form and your analysis of, because that form has to be analyzed, because we have to create structures which stand.
Correct.
And for the analysis, for the user, for the experience, for expansion, whatever, there as for all those further add-ons, the underlying, again I am trying to stress out, is geometry. And all are related. So geometry is both.
Yes sir.
Imagination and logic.
ये क्वेश्चन मैंने इसलिए पूछा था सर कि कुछ स्टूडेंट्स जब एंटर करते हैं आर्किटेक्चर में, they are feared of maths.
I agree.
And due to the maths, they also fear about the geometry. इसीलिए वो geometry की तरफ बहुत जाते नहीं, पैरामेट्रिसिज्म की तरफ बहुत जाते नहीं, इसीलिए वो क्वेश्चन था. सर आपने आपका थीसिस टॉपिक बताया, वो भी बैचलर्स का, स्पेस टाइम एंड आर्किटेक्चर.
राइट.
सुन के बड़ा ही इंटरेस्टिंग लगा, क्योंकि इफ इन टूडेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट अगर किसी ने वो टॉपिक लिया, इट इज नॉट इजीली एक्सेप्टेड. तो कैन यू एलाबोरेट ऑन दैट टॉपिक कि एग्जैक्टली वो था क्या?
Well, see, space, time and architecture was a concept.
Yes.
Fine. It has to be what you call linked to a typology.
Correct.
It cannot be, because as final year thesis we have to have a typology.
Correct.
And the typology which I had taken was a campus. It was a Indian Handicraft Center, which was my thesis topic. And in that Handicraft Center, my application of space-time was the allied, or was the what you call underlying principle behind it. Now, as you said, elaborate on it. Very, very what you call latest introduction of space and time, or space-time and architecture. I couldn't find answers very easily.
Right.
It so happened, it's again an interesting incident. Have you heard of Sayeed, Haider, Raza?
No.
He is a very famous artist, Indian artist of the contemporary of what you call that barefoot architect M.F. Hussain.
Yes.
Contemporary of him, Tayyib Mehta. Right. He happened to be visiting Nagpur.
Okay.
He was putting up at a hotel in Nagpur only, Mount Hotel it was, I clearly remember. And this concept of space-time, see, art and architecture is very interlinked.
Correct.
So space-time was also a rage in artists. So I said, okay, let me understand from artist's viewpoint. He was visiting from Paris. He was settled in Paris, Sayeed Haider Raza. You can find out about him. Definitely a very talented artist. And I got an opportunity to meet him, and I interviewed him. Sir, what is this space-time in your art? Because if you see his art works, there's a bindu, there's a big white, red circle everywhere in his artwork. So he's also playing with the space, a blank space, and creating some art. Okay, but ours is different and their art is different. So he was trying to link this space-time with architecture, because as I said, like Picasso was an artist, and then you had who was that, Le-Corbusier, contemporary. So Picasso's art was reflected in his architecture. So he, in a very applied manner, told me and gave me an example. Have you been to Taj Mahal? I said yes. No, unfortunately, I don't recall I had been to Taj Mahal by that time. Okay. But he gave me an example of Taj Mahal, and he said, when you enter into Taj Mahal, from that gateway arch, you see a Taj profile or a monument, and you, with passage of time, you are approaching towards the architectural masterpiece. So the vantage points from where you see this particular piece of architecture, that time element that is involved into appreciating that architecture is the space and the time.
Right.
That is what you should be looking at. Your architecture creation should be related to a time the user is at different locations, and that's how you should be able to coordinate or correlate space and time, and evaluate your designs and create your a final design incorporating the space and time elements.
Correct.
So right from that 42 years, it was in 80, now it's 2022, 42 years ago, and now I realize where that, graphically also this space-time concept lies.
Correct.
And I don't know, that time it was very intuitive and it was very contemporary, but now I find there is a logic behind it, and therefore the logic was geometry, and therefore I am confident that this space and space-time can definitely help in creating good architecture. So space-time convinced, and I hope you are also convinced that there's no need to be fearful about geometry or mathematics. And that's where I come in. That's where somebody has to pitch in and make it. See, a teacher or a professional is good if he packages it in a very acceptable manner.
Right.
You can definitely keep on talking about very long equations, complicated equations, but that is not needed. So to package it in such an acceptable form is the success of the professional or a teacher. So if it is packaged that way, this fear would also go.
Correct,
but there is no denying that fear would help, or fear would make you keep away from it, and you would be able to create something good. It's not possible. If you want to be really successful, you need to understand the geometrical part of it, and there is we are using it in an applied form, we are using it in a graphical form, so nothing to fear about, but then it has to be packaged.
Right.
And for that, yes, a lot of research has to be done, and that's why I am taking this topic also, and that's why I would be taking it further to all my whoso reads that topic, whoso takes it further for his research.
Correct.
So I hope it will help the geometry part taking further.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah.
Geometry is very integral part of an architecture.
Yes.
Sir, in today's world, architecture is a iterative process and conscious iterations. So in this conscious iterative process, आजकल ये process AI की तरफ बहुत बढ़ रही है. So AI की तरफ जाते जाते, if we put some inputs into AI, it gives us the random iterations, and that becomes the starting point for the architect. So what do you think, how it is affecting that conscious iterations which we were doing, and how the AI is coming forward in terms of the experience?
I realize this current trend.
Right.
This is a current trend. You're talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision. See, these are all things which are bound to be there, bound to be taking over all professions. But as I always say, underlying, basic, elemental would never go. There also you would definitely be involving basic knowledge of your geometry. Like I would have an analogy. You have computerized, but you see around?
Yes.
You will see it still. No, it's again, it's a combination of both.
Right.
It's a combination of both. I still have drawing boards.
Right.
I still have the latest computer, what you call software, hardware, peripherals, everything is there latest. The analogy I'm trying to drive is कि despite automation, I am what you call, evolving from my what you call drawing board to that without leaving the basic what you call that conscious involvement that you are talking about, that conscious what you call connection with your creation or with your working drawings, with your detailed drawings or with your conceptual drawings. That what you call conscious link would be there only if you have what you call physical paper and drawing and sketching before in front of you. Now this is the what you call 4G 5G time. So when we finished our architecture, it wasn't computers, there were no computers. But I evolved, or I what you call adapted to computerization. I learned everything and I'm using. Now CAD is dead. CAD is no more what you call, this is what I said almost 20 years ago in an II talk, कि CAD is dead. So automation was only again just what you call duplicated drawings could be made fast and what you call big projects could be done. Why did I say CAD is dead? Because there were information modeling was coming in. BIM modeling, as you remember. So CAD is different and BIM working is different. So from manual drawings to CAD drawings to BIM drawings, now it is all AI and ML. Then AR. I hope you all would be knowing all these terms.
Yes.
So then point is, this will definitely be there. It will go, as I said, hand in hand. It cannot be. I still have a landline, although you have a mobile. They go hand in hand. It cannot be. Intercommunication is good with that. So see, you have to realize that ki, as a designer, you need to be consciously connected with your designs, and that, as I always say, there is a 3H kind of what you call link in it: head, heart, and hand.
Wow.
So this 3H link is possible only, that conscious link, transmission of that all neurons transmitting from brain to heart to hand is possible only when you have the drawings before you.
Yes, sir.
Your computer advancement through this what you call current languages or current technologies would not put this behind. This would still be there. Okay. Now, how do you use these trends, keeping your conscious connection? Zaha Hadid, everybody knows, and Zaha Hadid was successful, is successful. The firm ZHA is successful. Why? Because they are incorporating this into their practice. AR and all this machine and all that. See, that helps you in, getting various designs, as you said, iterative. You get lots of what you call iterations from a input of whatever brief of a client or a site or a scale of that project. That helps you in generating several designs. Right? Now, out of those several designs, which one is good? Conscious is the only way that you can, validate.
Right.
It's not just putting it in a machine and getting a final product. Architect the designer is the central portion, the central figure. So that technology of your artificial intelligence would still be there without sacrificing any way about that personal conscious link with the design or with the form. So they would go hand in hand, and best of that industry in creating many designs, in creating what you call energy analysis, in creating estimations, in creating structural economy because of those designs. So you evaluate all those things very fast, which would have been otherwise manually impossible to, do justice through analysis. But through this AI, you are able to do that.
Correct.
So you have to adapt. I would also have to adapt.
Right.
As I adapted from manual to CAD to BIM to, I'm also thinking of doing the shift into this, because definitely it's something which will give an edge to every firm. You cannot forego that.
Right.
So it's there to stay, along with your conscious link with your design.
Process. Yes, sir, definitely. And आपने और एक क्वेश्चन का भी आंसर कर दिया. मेरा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन वही था कि AI क्या एक्सपीरियंस को बीट कर रहा है, जो आर्किटेक्चरल एक्सपीरियंस है, क्या AI उसको बीट करेगा या कर रहा है, वही क्वेश्चन था.
Okay.
You gave the answer.
It cannot.
Yes, sir.
It cannot be foregone.
Yes, sir. आपने 3H के बारे में बताया. Head, heart and hand.
Correct.
For beginner, it may start with the head, but may not come from the hand. But with the experience, it can come directly from the hand, as it become the muscle memory for us. क्या आपके लिए भी यही है कि आपके लिए ये?
See, muscle memory has to have a software in between.
Right.
Muscle memory is there, but then muscle memory cannot think and translate into a design as fast as your sketch can do it.
Correct.
So muscle memory is okay. You will be very adept in computer language or computer commands, but then that spark or that eureka moment also in designing. There is also the same moment in design, where a design strikes you and then you transfer into a paper and a sketch is there.
Right.
Can you do that in muscle impulse into a drab computer screen?
Definitely.
So as adept you may be in your computer commands, this definitely cannot be replaced. So this 3H is there to be inevitably in all the creations of an architect. It cannot be set aside. It cannot be replaced by any muscle impulse you talk about, any artificial intelligence you talk about. Nothing can replace that 3H
definitely
transfer.
Correct.
What comes? Okay, so this is there to stay.
Yes.
This
so
logic.
आप उन स्टूडेंट्स को क्या सजेशन देना चाहोगे जिन्होंने अभी हेड में स्टार्ट किया है? दे स्टार्टेड विद द फर्स्ट H. वो हेड, हार्ट एंड हैंड तक कैसे पहुंचे?
Okay. See, as I said in geometry, okay, as I said, numbers in 2D is something which arithmetic or 2D. You're transiting to 3D. You're transiting to space and time, that is 4D. See, this is a transition. So same way you will have a transition from head. Let that head have the analysis part of it. Let that head have the requirement for the creation of a design, knowledge about it. If head doesn't have it, so it will not come to heart. No?
Correct.
So the training of the architect or the making of an architect has to be at the head, and there starts the whole inputs of designing a brief or designing a project or anything. So the input which goes into your head would be definitely important to transit from head to heart. So that head has to be very clear. Head strong रहने से नहीं होगा. You have to be head clear in fundamentals of the tools that you would be using to analyze and put it to heart and then put it to transfer it to hand. So that clarity, fundamental clarity starts from the head. So, and that's where the education, that's where the geometry, that's where what you call उसके जो allied fields है all come in.
Correct.
And that's why we have such a vast course in our architecture. So all this inputs has to be going into your head.
Yes.
So if you're starting from head, let that head understand all the nuances of the various subjects involved into it. Take interest in all involved allied what you call subjects.
Correct.
Then it will definitely be, starting point would be definitely good. And then, as I said, it has to come to the heart. People say first it starts from heart,
Right.
then it goes to head. Now, whatever edge combination you want to do, heart to head to hand, or maybe you see something, you trace out something, and you say hand to heart to head aaya.
Right.
it's
Correct.
that combination, whichever you want to take, but this is a 3H.
We have to find our own
Combinations.
Correct.
That permutation combination is the key for a success of a architect. How does he do it?
Right. Yes.
He does it through hand catalog निकाल के बता दिया सर ये मेरा डिज़ाइन है या ऐसा डिज़ाइन बना के दे दो. So that H is first.
Correct.
Some say कि भाई I want an emotional design, so he starts from his heart. So maybe his H first is heart.
Right.
But then all H with due importance to every H would determine the success of that design. So all depends how one prioritizes that H.
Correct.
And how justice he does to all the H's. And then you can see for yourself down the line, and others can also see it for down the line.
Definitely.
How does it what you call transform into reality? And then reality is of course money.
Correct.
So good design definitely would give you good money.
Yes sir, definitely. क्योंकि ये 3H वाली कंसेप्ट काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग है.
Fine.
काफ़ी बहुत सारे लोगों को बड़ा काम में आने वाली है.
Yes, definitely.
सर ऑफन जैसे आपने सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस शेयर किए, इट रिक्वायर्स एक्सप्लोरेशन बाय आवर ओन. सो व्हाइल डूइंग दिस एक्सप्लोरेशन वी कम अक्रॉस मेनी न्यू चैलेंजिंग थिंग्स, एंड एज अ स्टूडेंट एंड एज अ फ्रेशर आर्किटेक्ट many of us are very scared about taking new challenges which are very new. So how do you approach these new challenges, or how do you suggest कि इसको कैसे approach करना चाहिए?
See, challenges would be there in every what you call walk of your life. How to overcome all these challenges and be confident and be sure about it involves, I would say, sincerity towards the task that you have undertaken. Can you suggest some example? I think you are a fresher.
Yeah, I am fresher.
So can you cite out an example so that I will elaborate through that example and justify this question of yours?
Actually, it is very simple example. If I get a first project, and I got a first very new project, and everything is new for me for that project.
Okay.
Talking to client, going to the market, exploring the market. So physically, okay, I have to do that because I am an architect, but how can I be mentally prepared to tackle those situations?
Okay, see, as I said, making of an architect is definitely taking interest in all the allied subjects and allied fields into it. When you are into practice, first thing is that the client should have the trust or the confidence in you, and you have to win his confidence.
Correct.
Okay, so you have to do a lot of homework. The first thing that he would like to see is how creative and how imaginative you are. That's the first thing, a decisive factor. Ki why would a client give it to you? So you have to explore design.
Right.
As you said, ki how does one explore all these what you call hurdles or the challenges involved into delivering the service. So design is the first thing that he would definitely be seeing.
Correct.
Now you all are what you call computer savvy. You have what you call turnaround time is so fast.
Yes, sir.
Ki you can what you call make a very good presentation. Okay, and make it communicative also. Okay, but then that's not the only thing. Next part is the economics part of it. So here comes the knowledge of the materials. What are the options that you have? What is the rate of it? What's the labor rate of it? What's the process of it? So first was design. Second was the costing part of it. Right? The selection of the material and the costing part of it. The third part that you would be, confidently handling such challenges of delivering to a new client is third challenge, which I am trying to tell you. You should be trying to, research more on it, is the process of construction. How would that construction be executed? So the third important aspect that you need to be confident about is how it would be constructed, how the layout would be done, how the excavation would be done. Would it be done through construction machinery? Would it be done through manual? Would it be done through stages? Okay, so the construction sequence or the construction process is the third part of it, which would definitely be, you should be conversant about, because and that definitely would come when you take a training. Okay, when you undergo, when you've seen such projects getting executed. So the third important point was the process of construction. And the fourth point which I was trying to tell you was the construction management. How you manage the whole design to execution. So that skill also is required to deliver your whatever services that you've been asked for. And if you can take care of all these four aspects, I believe you would definitely be winning the client and getting your due fees and complete fees, timely fees. See, this is down the line you will learn you should get your full fees. You should get them at various stages that you've been asking. So all the knowledge of these four fields, which is very practical, would help you be confident. So that's how I would say you can overcome all the challenges that come down to a fresher. And nothing to fear about. Means, see, as I said, these four is के अंदर में design में definitely would be geometry. If you were good in geometry, you would definitely. If you were good in materials, so you would be good in estimations also. If you're good in experience, you would be able to execute, or you will be able to guide the client and the contractor of the various stages of construction. And if you're good in management, so you would finish the whole project in the stipulated time and budget, time and money. So if you can do all these four, you have overcome all the challenges. The fresher can easily overcome all these challenges.
Definitely, sir.
Okay.
सर आपने जो 4 पॉइंट्स बोले, ड्यूरिंग द 5 years कोर्स, उसमें से बहुत कम एक्सपीरियंस किया है वो 5 सालों में. So will you suggest to go directly into the actual practice after the BArch, और अगर किसी को जाना है तो उनके वो 5 साल कैसे दिखने चाहिए, उनके कैसे होने चाहिए?
See, you're coming to academics now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So current academic scenario may, I would say, you shouldn't jump directly into practice. You must undergo a practical training. This is for sure. Because with experience, with practical, realities, you would be winning the confidence. Because nowadays, clients are very smart. They would check out whether you understand concrete technology, whether you understand right material has come or not. So you need to be practically experienced. So I would advise fresher architects to undergo at least 2 to 3 years of practical training. At least 2 to 3 years. This is what my sincere advice is. Now coming to the 5 years, one part was कि does it train you for all these 4 aspects that I said earlier?
Correct.
The reality, unfortunately, is that it is not there. The training for all these 4, because as geometry is not there, therefore I'm trying to stress on geometry, which is an integral part of your design. Estimation and costing is something dependent on material. So material again is something which takes a back seat as far as current education is concerned, because there's so much of current material, so much of varying prices, so much detailed, ki the 5-year curriculum doesn't incorporate the knowledge of all options in materials. So current scenario mein you don't have integral deep teaching of geometry, you don't have what you call as material options or material explorations. Third was about your process. So practical mein you tell me how many sites you have been to practical during your 5 years?
No, I gone to sites in that 6 months training.
Only in those 6
Yes,
months.
sir.
See, now those 5 years, 4.5 years didn't give you any practical training.
Not at all. Yes, sir.
So that's how the real scene is. Ki you hardly get hands-on training or teaching on the materials part of it.
Correct.
Or the processes part of it. The third part also, unfortunately, in education is not inclusive. And the management part, I don't think it's an optional subject,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Construction management is an optional elective.
Subjects are there, but the curriculum doesn't that go into that deep. Yes, yes.
So here lies the need. If this practical inputs can be incorporated in curriculum, so it would reduce the 3-year maybe period into 1 year.
Correct.
This 3-year period of minimum training I am suggesting because of the current scenario.
Right.
So, and there's nothing hard. Means, see, if the knowledge is there, student is definitely fast to grasp it.
Right.
So I would say ki the knowledge should be there, and if knowledge is available in the curriculum or in the the teaching fraternity, it would help reducing this 3 years to 1 year, or maybe it would help him to take on further from there.
Right.
So I feel ki during 5 years training and during 3 years training, practical training definitely would help a fresher to be confident and take up the future journey as you started with, because it's a long journey.
Yes.
A professional has to undergo.
Correct.
And everyone has to undergo. And now that you have chosen this profession, so you have to see that it is enjoyable.
Yes, sir, definitely.
So I wish all the journeys of everyone is equally enjoyable.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I think at your time, architectural profession was bit harder, and in our time, architectural education is bit harder. So what do you think? What is that lag? मतलब पहले भी आर्किटेक्चरल प्रैक्टिस करना उतना ही मुश्किल था या फिर आज मुश्किल है?
मुश्किल तब भी नहीं था, आज भी नहीं है. I would say there is always room at the top.
Yes, sir, definitely.
This is a statement by M.S. Oberoi. Oberoi के अंदर में उसका हमेशा टॉप में एक रूम रहता था. So he used to say always, there's always a room at the top. Be at the top.
Yes.
If you are at top, if you make the most of your education, you would not complain about, ठीक है, द्रोणाचार्य नहीं है, एकलव्य ने उनकी मूर्ति बना के सिखाई है. तो you should be, having that yearning for learning.
Yes.
If you really want to be at the top, don't complain about education, don't complain about schools, don't complain about curriculum. Ki current challenges ki we are not taught. There are what you call methods to overcome all those also. Okay, that reality is there. That scene would be changed by somebody else. You definitely are not supposed to change it. But then if you come in good contact, you will definitely try to make up that, as Eklavya did through training through a statue of Dronacharya. So point is ki you need to be at the top, you need to be sincere, and then definitely you would be making a good start. And as far as good practice, at our time learning was good, but the practice was challenging. Well, that also is always there and always be there. It's nothing different now also. But then I overcame all that through, again, as I said, sincerity.
Right.
You be sincere to your profession, be respectful to your profession. I always say, respect the profession would respect you.
Correct. Definitely.
This is a very important learning from my profession.
Yes.
Never ever abuse or undermine your profession. Never.
Yes.
Whatsoever little money it gives you, whatsoever dissatisfaction it gives you, never ever disrespect, hate, or say any negative, have any negative feeling about the profession. Now this is your lifeline.
Yes, sir. This is really
For architects, architecture now has become his lifeline.
Yes, sir.
And the day he abuses or the day he starts negatively, इसमें तो कुछ है ही नहीं, इसमें तो सब ऐसा है, reality lies this, reality is that, the ground is this way, what should we do? No way. You have to still remain afloat, and you have to still swim across and see that you reach the shore.
Yes,
so I would definitely say that the challenges of education, challenges of practical experiences were there, would be there, are there. So don't
Definitely.
be afraid about it. And if you are always sincere, if you are always at the top, floating at the top, you will reach the shore.
Definitely.
So this is my...
These words are going to help a lot of students, sir.
Yes,
Thank you
I
so
would
much,
definitely wish that they take it seriously.
Yes,
because this is my 47 years of experience.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
I would never ever do that. कि इतना भी हो जाए कि यानी you have to respect it, you have to say that yes, I'm going to do it, you have to say that कि I am at the top, and you will definitely be able to be sailing through.
Yes, sir.
So
Definitely.
that's how it is.
So, sir, at the last of the session, I have 3 questions. उसमें आप brief में भी बताया तो भी चलेगा.
Yeah, let me know.
So, how do you see Dubai through the eye of an architect or the geometry expert?
Well, incidentally, I had been to Dubai.
Okay.
I don't know why did you ask Dubai. Why not Doha? Because
Right.
Qatar is somewhere in the screens of every house.
Right.
So why did you choose Dubai? I don't know. But well, Middle East in general, I would say, and my Dubai experience, I would say, they have Asharfiyan.
Right.
They are full of hard cash. They can hire any architect for any project.
Right.
And Dubai is always striving for superlatives.
Correct.
Biggest mall, tallest building, largest bridge, longest flyover, whatever. It means superlatives. Anything superlative is definitely for this emirs or Shahjahs of Middle East.
Right.
As far as architecture is concerned, there is a bigger responsibility for an architect.
Right.
Funds is not a constraint.
Correct.
So, when you have this kind of a scene, the architect is more cornered. He has to deliver to that level of exposure.
Correct.
Or that level of expectations by the clients. And those who are able to think to that futuristic point would definitely be successful.
Correct.
And definitely the already established names or those who have good designs to offer take away those projects. So this is a field where architects hardly get a chance. Ki budget is no limit.
Right.
So, and it's a good opportunity for architects in Middle East. And you have to come up with how, and again here the geometry would help you.
Definitely.
It is no way you can win without geometry, I tell you. There are examples, Norman Foster winning over the Qatar National Stadium just because of that, what you call, diagrid dome stadium that he had designed. It was geometry only.
Yes, sir.
Pure geometry only. Zaha Hadid's that two shells meeting.
Right.
Or any Olympics also stadiums, if you see, everywhere it had been geometry. If you recall that swimming stadium where they have used the structure of what you call membrane structure
holding the water.
Yes.
Sure.
So it was the geometry of the bubbles that they used and transformed into the most economical way. So that was biogeometry or biomimicry, maybe. But then it was geometry derived from nature.
Right.
So, but then geometry was the cutting edge.
Definitely.
What you call, to be a very successful in these Middle East countries, you definitely have to be the best in geometry. Then only you can do it. And it's simple. I tell you, it's very simple. I would, if I want to recall any example to tell you, if not in Middle East, you have seen that World Trade Center.
Yes, sir.
World Trade Center mein the replaced new tower that they have done.
Correct.
It is a geometry, very simple geometry. Yes. And the geometry, I tell you, all buildings are prismatic. Okay. That architect, what did he do? He made a anti-prism.
Correct.
Basic geometry.
Yes.
It is just square at base, square tilted at top.
Right.
That is anti-prism. And this anti-prism say he got the best triangulation,
Right.
which is the safest and the most economical way to have a high rise.
Correct.
It is tapering, it is twisting, and through just geometry, prism and anti-prism. Now tell me, who would have been able to do this? If you don't know what is the stability due to an anti-prism,
Correct.
who would be able to imagine this way? And that's where, as I told you, the design is the cutting edge. For design, geometry is the fundamental. And in Middle East or in anywhere, I would say this would definitely be prevailing all times to come. And I'm sure if architects start giving importance to geometry, they would definitely be, doing justice to the profession also, doing justice to the national resource. Because see, if your geometry is good, you will use less material, optimum material, because the geometry itself is giving you that stability. You remember Buckminster Fuller saying, Buckminster Fuller, if you recall, he was a geodesic patent holder.
Yes.
He asked Norman Foster, how heavy is your building? So Norman Foster also studied ki bhai, the light your building can be is through your geometry.
Right.
So you save on material, you save on structural stresses, you save on sizes of the members, you save on what you call whatever bracings that you give.
Right.
So everywhere it is the geometry which is giving you, the design which is giving you, and that leads to good budget also. So वहाँ पे भी आ गया time and money. So you got the savings in money. So if you have this all applied form, I say all architects, if they would do this way, I think they will do justice to the profession, to the resources that we have, and eventually client would go back happy. Paisa bach gaya. Why would he not be happy? Yes. Time bach gaya, because it was so simple. Ki you design it faster. So he is definitely happy with the less bank accounts being debited or less budget we estimated this budget, but it ended up with smaller budget.
Right.
So underlying is again what you call design. उसके पीछे जाते हैं तो
Yes, sir.
समझ जाओ तुम. So this is how I would
After
say.
going to Middle East or Dubai,
Uh-huh.
how do you see India? Where do you see India in next coming 10 years?
As I told you, superlatives का competition इंडिया में अभी तक नहीं आया.
Yes.
We are not craving for the tallest structure.
Yes.
I can share with you, I had been to Noida and I had been to 90th floor.
Okay. Oh.
I had been to a 90th floor. Now here they are talking of 160 floors in what you call Saudi Arabia. But then the superlatives competition has not come.
Right.
Okay. But then what I would say, free budget projects are there in India, and there are architects who are what you call doing justice or rendering services to this kind of climate, eco-climate, कि भाई no budget, give us the best design.
Correct.
And what you call architects are delivering. But as you asked, what is the difference between the Middle East and here? See, despite having free budget, again the architects, I would say, definitely are better placed as far as what you call iconic designs or economical designs or what you call vernacular, whatever designs they call of, they are able to do it better there in Middle East than in India.
Right.
So maybe because they have what you call larger exposure to materials, to designs, to execution, to manufacture, to source the materials. So they have definitely a larger what you call exposure to all these new technologies, and that's why India is still behind as far as Middle East. Same comparison ground if you talk about ki if there is a free budget, who would be able to design better. So it's definitely the architects there. India still, I would say, has to catch up, and the exposure and the what you call availability, all this would then decide. But then despite all these limitations, we definitely in India are catching up, because now it's all very fast that you have the technology, materials also you can be made available. But still there's lag.
Yes.
Still lag there is. India is still lagging.
Sir, if you want to change one thing in current architectural profession in India only, what would that be?
I am nobody to change the profession because I would just advise, piece of advice would be again good designs, economical designs, and again the whole thing boils down to geometries. So to change all that, take interest in geometry. This is what my advice would be, and this is what my attempt also would be. Think about it. You will definitely understand how that is transforming into a good final product and a good economical product. So I'm sure that would help the profession to evolve in a better way through better designs. Final point again.
Yes.
One word, geometry. So
sir.
profession, if they can understand, which I'm trying to, and I'm trying to package it in such a way that they realize it ki yes, this is the difference.
Yes, sir.
And it does help in, so see, you have to prove that na. I am just talking about geometry, but then you have to prove that. So to prove that, you have to have a what you call a model.
Right.
A model saying that ki this way it can transform, and that's what I'm preparing through my PhD. So maybe through that model, various combinations can be made, and the architect or the student can be confident ki yes, this model says that ki this has been concluded ki helps in giving you good design, good economy, and good stability.
Yes, sir.
You need the help of this.
We'd love to hear about the thesis in detail in the next coming videos.
Yes, welcome.
Definitely.
Yeah,
It was great talking to you, sir.
my pleasure.
बहुत
It
ज़्यादा
was
अच्छा लगा.
my pleasure.
एंड ऑल्सो बहुत सारे लोगों के लिए भी बहुत इंस्पायरिंग रहा होगा.
Yes.
तो जाते जाते आपका इन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जो फ्रेशर्स है उनके लिए कुछ आखिरी मैसेज.
Well, my message would be, as I said, always strive to be at the top, and there is always room at the top. Don't complain, don't be negative, and you will definitely be successful.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir,
My
for
pleasure.
joining the podcast.
My
बहुत
pleasure.
ज़्यादा अच्छा लगा.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome.